is the part of the show where we get to the heart of the political debate, where all sides are fair game. That also goes for what the candidates say. Let's listen to what Rick Santorum is saying about, of all things, prenatal testing.
Yes, prenatal testing, amniocentesis, does in fact result more often than not in this country in abortion. That is a fact.
Joining me now is Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and Democratic political consultant Ed Espinoza. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but he just said that the majority of women who have the most trusted prenatal test then decide to have the abortions. He also says that government shouldn't force companies to pay for these tests as part of their health insurance. So let me start with you, Ed, on this one. What's behind these kinds of statements?
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, all these candidates see polls the same way that we do. And, you know, if they're polling the primary and their data tells them that the electorate is so conservative that they're going to follow these types of issues, then the candidates are going to put out these issues. Say, I'm in Texas, and I don't know very many people that agree with these types of issues, but hey, I haven't seen the polling, and clearly these are issues that Rick Santorum is comfortable putting forward, and ones that Mitt Romney is not comfortable putting forward. But it's what's giving Santorum a lead in this primary, and this is how the landscape exists right now.
Ford, let me ask you, because this obviously goes along with some other controversial comments about contraception, about women in the military. What's going on here?
Well, Rick Santorum is really trying to differentiate himself from Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney on social issues. He wants to consolidate the Catholic vote and the evangelical vote in the Midwest, particularly in Ohio, so he can say that Mitt Romney has a weakness in the Midwest because his campaign needs money, and the best way to do that is to show Romney's weaknesses.
And let me ask you, let me ask you both about this, because this weekend Santorum said something about President Obama's theology. He said he's led by a different theology. Listen to this.
It's about some phony ideal, some phony theology. Oh, not a theology based on the Bible, different theology.
All right, so Ed, I got to ask about this one too, because he says he wasn't questioning the president's Christianity. So what was he doing?
It's a good question. He said not a theology based on the Bible, but I don't know of any other kind of theology that there is. Maybe an ick-theology. I have no idea, but it's clearly a veiled attempt to call into question the president's Christianity. Look, if you're going to have a difference on issues, that's fine, but let's not take it down the road of religion.
Ford, you want to weigh in on that one?
Absolutely. Basically, he is making the environment a social issue. Unfortunately, he overtalked, and he brought about sympathy for the president because it came across that he was questioning the president's faith. Let Gingrich overtalk. Don't do that. You're trying a very high-risk strategy, and you got to be sharp while doing it.
Let's take a look at the new Gallup poll on the national race for the GOP nomination. This is really getting interesting. You see it right there. Rick Santorum has opened up an 8-point lead. This is the first time that we've seen this big of a lead for Santorum. What does this tell us, Ed? And is it worth noting that this is just among registered Republicans?
Yeah, well, it tells us that the Republican electorate's very conservative and that they like very conservative candidates, Rick Santorum being the more conservative candidate in this primary. The hurdle that they have is, does a conservative candidate like Rick Santorum translate well into a general election candidate? And I don't think that he does. But he's the most competitive one to win these primaries. It's a very challenging juxtaposition for the Republican Party to be in, but one that Democrats like myself don't mind seeing.
So, Ford, even though he might be over-talking, does this seem to be working for him, as you say?
Well, as of right now, but this is really about Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is not giving the base a reason to vote for him. Until this happens, this is going to continue. But Romney's going to try to hit Santorum and poke holes in his record with his attack ads. But it's not going to work as well as it did on Gingrich. The pressure's really on Romney to show passion or to come up with a compelling reason for conservatives to vote for him.
I want to ask you guys both about this. You heard it earlier in our show. You've seen it all over the news. This popular Pinal County, Arizona sheriff Paul Babeu confirmed a newspaper story saying that he is gay and that he had a relationship with somebody who his camp had said was an illegal immigrant, although that person, Jose, says he is not. He has now stepped away from the Romney campaign, but he is still running for Congress in Arizona. Do you think, Ed, I'll start with you on this one, that his sexual orientation is going to be an issue in this race?
Well, the question is, why did he step down because of a perceived abuse of power through his office? Or did he step down because he came out of because it was revealed that he's gay? The answer is probably both, and it's too bad. I don't know that it will affect his position as sheriff, but it will almost certainly affect his position in the primary in Tucson, and that's too bad.
Ford, what do you think?
Well, to Ed's point, if this is actually perceived as an abuse of power, his congressional bid's going to be over. I think he stepped away from Romney's campaign because Mitt Romney's essentially running a statewide race in Arizona, and with the frontier nature of Arizona, with the LDS and evangelical population, same-sex relationships are frowned on. Why else is the president's position still evolving, particularly in the Southwest and with the church going southeast? Everyone knows that this is a little bit of a taboo issue.
Ford O'Connell,
yeah,
Ed Espinoza, thank you both. Nice to see you. That is fair game today.